Welcome to the grid. The xRTFMx terminal is currently tracking a macro-level anomaly accelerating across the global data feed. The intelligence streaming into the interface shows a highly synchronized systemic shift occurring across two distinct vectors. This global map identifies the primary centers of pressure. Threat vector alpha is driven by human geopolitical maneuvering in the Middle East, while threat vector beta is a compounding destabilization of the biosphere. The raw data proves that the foundational architecture of modern civilization is currently facing a total multi-front siege. Successfully navigating this period requires a granular understanding of how these two forces interact to strain the global system. Threat vector alpha is localized here, at the Strait of Hormuz. After a tense 60-day negotiation following a memorandum of understanding, this critical maritime choke point has reached a new level of volatility. Iranian leadership, including Masoud Pezeshkian, has announced a system of maritime fees to be implemented within 2 months. Tehran is framing this as absolute control over the waterway, explicitly warning that European naval escorts will not be tolerated. This move comes immediately after the United States lifted its long-standing blockade, a policy reversal intended to allow massive oil tankers to once again move freely through this global artery. That friction extends into the surrounding territories. In southern Lebanon, Israeli forces are maintaining a security zone covering more than 600 square kilometers, utilizing heavy border infrastructure to meet stated security objectives. Iran has countered by insisting that any deal regarding Lebanon's territorial integrity requires a total Israeli withdrawal, effectively placing the burden of regional enforcement onto the incoming Trump administration. These conflicting demands have already fractured the diplomatic process. A high-profile signing ceremony for the U.S.-Iran memorandum, originally slated for the Bergenstock Resort at Lake Lucerne, was abruptly canceled. Global leadership is currently consumed by the logistics of sanctions and the flow of crude oil, leaving them little room to address external threats. While political actors focus on trade routes, threat vector beta is moving into position. A rapidly strengthening El Niño pattern is currently weaponizing the global climate into polarized extremes. The scale of this shift has forced the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Program to initiate their first-ever joint anticipatory action appeal. The data highlights 22 priority nations, where core planting cycles and harvest yields are directly in the path of this atmospheric shift. One half of this environmental divergence involves severe crop-killing drought. These conditions are projected to destroy pasture viability for massive livestock populations across Africa and Asia. Simultaneously, the model predicts catastrophic flood risks for coastal and inland infrastructure, threatening the stability of communities across Latin America and the Caribbean. Geopolitical conflicts are driven by human policy decisions, but this meteorological cycle is an absolute mathematical certainty. Millions of people are already facing acute food insecurity. This vulnerability is compounded by the volatility in global shipping and fuel prices that we are currently seeing in the Middle East. The current logistical capacity of aid agencies is only enough to protect 1.2 million people, a fraction of the total population at risk. To bridge the gap and protect an additional 7.6 million lives, the FAO and WFP require an immediate investment of $167 million. This funding is required to activate a specific economic protocol known as the Anticipatory Action Multiplier. The math is proven. Every single dollar invested before the disaster arrives yields a $7 return in avoided humanitarian losses and reactive aid spending. This capital executes survival mechanisms, including the distribution of drought-tolerant seeds, localized early warning systems, and protective protocols for livestock. These agencies have already demonstrated that this system works, having shielded over 3 million people during the previous 2023 cycle. The tools to identify these risks and save millions of lives already exist. The current failure is one of financial velocity, where the obsession with geopolitical power leaves the global system unprepared for the biospheric shifts that are already in motion.
Okay, let's boot up the diagnostic terminal and dive right into this explainer. Today, we're completely stripping away the political rhetoric and the noisy media headlines. Instead, we are going to focus entirely on the unredacted, raw telemetry of our global physical and logistical systems. Because right now, you and I are watching these frameworks operate under extreme, unprecedented structural load, and we need to break down exactly how these interacting mechanics function. To actually grasp what's going on, we have to stop looking at these events as just isolated, disconnected news alerts. What we're parsing through our operations center today is a rigid, deeply interconnected sequence of mechanical stresses and potential failures. We're going to use our rendering engine to unpack these architectures piece by piece, so you can see exactly where the global fault lines are mathematically located. Think of this as our system boot menu for the analysis. We're running a 6-part diagnostic execution sequence: systemic decomposition, threat vector alpha at Hormuz, financial engineering, tactical friction at the Israel-Lebanon border, threat vector beta covering climatology, and finally, anticipatory action protocols. Moving into Section 1, Threat Vector Alpha, Strait of Hormuz Maritime Choke Point Telemetry. Now, what is genuinely staggering about this specific geographic choke point is the sheer hydrodynamic and logistical scale we're dealing with. The Strait of Hormuz is essentially a bidirectional transit framework that is just 2 miles wide in either direction, yet it acts as the primary valve for 20% of the world's daily petroleum supply. To manage this massive flow, maritime authorities rely on the Automated Identification System, or AIS. We aren't just talking about a dot on a map here. This is an exhaustive network of overlapping coastal radar arrays and optical drones that meticulously log the exact GPS coordinates, heading, and speed of every single commercial vessel transiting the zone. So, how does a state actually execute economic leverage using this physical bottleneck? It is a highly rigid, step-by-step mechanical sequence. First, those coastal radar systems lock onto and track the target vessel. Next, the system mandates a highly specific 60-day negotiation logging window. If compliance isn't met when that clock runs out, the telemetry is handed off for localized clearinghouse processing. And if the bureaucratic gears completely jam, that's when we see tactical physical interdiction, where fast attack boats or airborne assets physically intercept and halt massive commercial freighters dead in the water. But you have to realize the friction here isn't solely physical. The financial constraints are absolutely massive. When commercial shipping lines are forced by sanctions to bypass the standard SWIFT framework, it essentially breaks their operational model. They can't just sail through. They have to structurally redesign their entire risk profile, taking on incredibly complex adjustments to specialized war risk premiums and securing massive layers of alternative hull coverage. And that systemic friction trickles all the way down the global supply chain. Section 2. Financial Engineering. Analyzing the $350 billion capital velocity. $350 billion. That is the raw, multi-layered algorithmic vector of Iran's proposed public-private partnership construction fund. It's a staggering figure, right? But here is the critical vulnerability in that data point. Its entire mechanical viability hangs on a very thin thread. Specifically, it relies on the structural longevity of highly conditional 14-clause U.S. energy export waivers. Because those secondary economic sanctions could be unilaterally snapped back into place at any second, global institutional capital is effectively paralyzed. The perceived risk completely overrides the potential reward. And this brings us to a really crucial point. Simply lifting blockades does not magically yield instant liquidity. You have to look closely at the petroleum engineering bottlenecks actively repelling that long-term investment. The entire system is mathematically constrained by decades of deferred maintenance. We're talking about aging wellheads, deeply corroded pipeline networks, and a severe lack of advanced multi-stage hydraulic fracturing equipment. You literally cannot pump the oil fast enough to generate that kind of capital velocity when the underlying physical hardware is degrading. Let's shift our terminal to Section 3, Tactical Friction, Topographical Mapping of the Israel-Lebanon Perimeter. We are parsing the kinetic variables here, focusing strictly on a 600-square-kilometer buffer zone of occupied territory in southern Lebanon. You have to understand the specific structural function of this perimeter. It operates as a highly sensitive physical intercept layer, specifically engineered to deal with modern topological threats, meaning it is designed to catch low-radar cross-section drones and loitering munitions before they can utilize the mountainous terrain to bypass traditional high-altitude air defense systems. The diagnostic overlay here presents a massive structural dilemma. On one hand, the maintenance of the security zone creates an immense logistical and economic burden. It requires a continuous feed of resources into subterranean acoustic sensors and 24/7 combat air patrols. But on the other side of the ledger, resetting that tactical boundary back to the officially recognized international border introduces profound structural vulnerabilities, exposing crucial infrastructure to near instantaneous kinetic threats. Both the maintenance and the withdrawal carry extreme systemic costs.
All right, moving to Section 4, Threat Vector Beta, El Niño Macroclimatological Mechanics.
Let's completely overwrite the military map with a planetary-scale fluid dynamics model. Look at this massive thermal plume in the equatorial Pacific. This brilliantly illustrates what we call the Walker circulation. It is essentially a colossal atmospheric heat engine loop. Methodically unpack how this works. In its neutral phase, this equilibrium state uses incredibly powerful trade winds to continuously push and pool massive amounts of thermal energy all the way over into maritime Asia. It's the baseline operating system for our global weather. But when we flip this split-screen simulation to the El Niño phase, you see a catastrophic structural collapse of that system. Those foundational trade winds don't just weaken, they fundamentally reverse. And when that underlying pressure drops, you literally have billions of tons of superheated thermal mass violently sloshing eastward back across the Pacific toward South America. The engine basically throws a rod on a planetary scale. This massive geographical shift in thermal mass triggers highly precise atmospheric chain reactions known as teleconnections. Because all the deep convection and storm generation follows that warm water eastward, it completely upends the planetary jet streams. It creates this chaotic, interacting cascade of global climate deviations, linking a temperature anomaly in the middle of the ocean to severe weather events happening thousands of miles away on entirely different continents. And when you methodically read through this localized data matrix, the results are devastating. It's a total atmospheric polarization. In regions like Africa and Southeast Asia, the descending air causes massive moisture starvation, leading to total cellular crop collapse and widespread livestock mortality. Conversely, look at the other extreme. In coastal Peru and Ecuador, the system unloads a catastrophic deluge, causing severe topsoil erosion and hyper-concentrated flash flooding that completely overloads local infrastructure. Let's look at the response in Section 5, Systemic Mitigation, FAO and WFP Anticipatory Action Protocols. Now, shift the terminal to this complex programmatic flowchart. This is where organizations like the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Program deploy predictive algorithms. This data-driven methodology relies entirely on mathematically validated indicators, specifically tracking the Oceanic Niño Index and running real-time satellite vegetation tracking. The goal is to hit anticipatory action trigger thresholds, effectively activating massive mitigation protocols before vulnerable populations ever cross critical damage thresholds. Let's actually trace how this automated execution builds. The second the algorithmic trigger is hit, the system initiates localized technical interventions. We're talking about the immediate release of biometric digital cash transfers to stabilize local purchasing power. It triggers the rapid logistical mobilization of drought-tolerant, short-cycle seed strains, and it initiates widespread cash-for-work programs to rapidly reinforce critical water and agricultural infrastructure before the atmospheric disruption actually hits. The telemetry on this is absolutely clear. We're looking at a proven, irrefutable operational efficiency multiplier of 1 to 7. Extensive economic analysis proves that for every single dollar proactively invested in these anticipatory frameworks, it prevents up to $7 in direct economic asset degradation and post-disaster humanitarian relief. It is quite literally the most efficient algorithmic response we have to systemic climate shocks. And yet, here is the stark reality of the situation. Despite all this predictive algorithmic success, the broader global humanitarian funding architecture remains deeply bottlenecked by systemic institutional inertia. The system is operating with a massive structural deficit, leaving millions of human lives dangling in the balance as the upcoming 2026 El Niño event rapidly charges toward its peak thermodynamic velocity. So I leave you with this final diagnostic query to consider. As our macroclimatological engines and our fragile geopolitical logistics systems both continue to operate under extreme, unprecedented structural load, which of these critical architectures is going to suffer a complete systemic failure first? It's like watching a giant puzzle under pressure. I highly encourage you to keep evaluating these interacting structural vulnerabilities. Parse the raw data for yourselves and stay curious. When we consume global news, we process tragedies in isolation. We watch a fractured, dry riverbed on one broadcast, and then a burning capital city on another. While these are typically categorized as separate threat vectors, the xRTFM models identify specific points where geopolitical conflict and biospheric destabilization overlap and feed into one another. The global architecture breaks down precisely at these intersections.
the geographic and economic coordinates, where resource scarcity meets the friction of militarized states. Attempting to solve these crises in isolation ignores the shared economic reality. You cannot address the physical collapse of the biosphere without first confronting the macroeconomic paralysis triggered by global warfare. Look at the Strait of Hormuz. As Iran enforces its new maritime fee framework, the immediate consequence is a wave of inflation hitting the global supply chain. Commercial vessels navigating this choke point are forced to reallocate capital to cover soaring war risk insurance premiums, legal escrow mandates, and transit tariffs. This chart tracks the resulting drain on global liquidity. As transport costs for bulk commodities rise, the capital available for flexible humanitarian funding pools experiences an immediate proportional contraction. It creates a self-sustaining cycle. Geopolitical friction weaponizes a critical global choke point, extracting the exact funding needed by donor states to mitigate planetary climate emergencies. These predictive models project the thermodynamic peak of the 2026-2027 El Niño cycle. The red vectors isolate 22 high-risk countries where the fallout will be most acute. In the Horn of Africa, active warfare intersects with severe hydrological shock in Somalia, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Due to a $167 million funding gap, critical drought-tolerant seed varieties cannot be distributed. Agricultural yields here are projected to contract by an unprecedented 45%. This loss of domestic food production leaves local markets unable to support the population. Families face terminal displacement, triggering migration events that overwhelm adjacent nations. In Latin America and the Caribbean, the data models isolate a different manifestation of this crisis: extreme climate polarization. Crop-killing droughts dominate the dry corridors, while coastal zones face infrastructure-destroying flash floods. Local subsistence farming networks are facing a systemic failure. As food consumption profiles destabilize, the regional agricultural economy faces total paralysis. This economic contraction triggers a historic northward migration surge. It arrives at western borders precisely as their domestic infrastructures are under stress, leading to a permanent freeze on international development aid. The final structural bottleneck involves agricultural inputs. The Middle East operates as the primary global hub for nitrogen-based fertilizers. Interdiction in the Strait of Hormuz is projected to trigger a 65% spike in the global spot price for these chemical fertilizers. Distributing basic seeds becomes non-viable if local populations cannot afford the fertilizers required to sustain crops in nutrient-depleted El Niño-stressed soils. Geopolitical disruption in a single shipping lane effectively sabotages agricultural recovery on a global scale. Planetary starvation becomes a function of logistics. The ultimate tragedy of the 21st century is one of structural hubris. By militarizing economic choke points, humanity has dismantled the logistical mechanisms required to survive a shifting biosphere. Make no mistake, the current global trajectory we see here represents the absolute mathematical architecture of systemic collapse in its final stages. The data models are locked. The structural vectors are absolute. The manual has been provided. The choice to read it remains entirely yours. This is the xRTFMx network, signing off.